Joey Mure, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so excited to talk to you. Do you want to say anything first before I start hammering you with
No,
questions?
it's just my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So why do we need why can't we okay, wealth without Wall Street. What's wrong with Wall Street?
If you have to ask me, this is probably not a good interview because you should already have a deep-seated mistrust of Wall Street. These guys have proven over and over and over again that they are not here for your benefit. In fact, they have duped us into believing that we are not smart enough and that we cannot create wealth on our own, and we're supposed to entrust our hard-earned dollars to give to them, and for some like long period of time till we're in our 60s and 70s, and they're going to magically provide that money back to us, and it's going to allow us to live like we've never lived before in quote unquote retirement. It is all a lie. None of that is going to happen. And in the meantime, they're going to take no responsibility for what happens to your money. How is this ever been a an idea that we bought into? I don't know.
Well, you're talking about, I'm just, when you were saying that, I was thinking about the weather people, right? Like, it's like it could rain, then again, it could be snow, but don't hold that, we'll just give you like the probability, maybe you'll make some money, maybe you won't. Good luck.
But
Like,
you know what is guaranteed though, Chris? They will make money.
well, of course.
There's no chance that they will lose because they will always make money off of your money. You're the only one that has a question of if you will make money. Now that's a crazy business arrangement. Like imagine if you went into a business arrangement with somebody and you said, listen, you're going to put up all the money, you're going to take all the risk, and at the end of this, I'm going to let you know how much you get to keep, and I'm going to make money the whole time. Like how is that a good idea for you? I don't.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea. In the alternative, what Wealth Without Wall Street is not just about beating up on Wall Street. It's about challenging the ideas of Wall Street. Like for instance, why do we think retirement is the answer? It's because somebody told us that that's how it works. But truly, financial freedom today, being able to do something that you love with the people that you want to do it with at the pace and at the time frame that you want to do it, is attainable. And it also gives you a richer life because you're no longer driving to work or like hating the things that you're doing, and you're just putting up with life until this magical retirement. Isn't it a better way to think about your life, to think I get to do meaningful work with people I love when I want to do it, and be able to have an impact in this world? Like that's what we were meant to do, and that's what we're about at Wealth Without Wall Street.
Beautiful. And it's true. I mean, if you're thinking about, I actually interviewed somebody yesterday who's going to retire at 31. So what is he going to do? You might be a Walmart greeter. I mean, what are you going to do from 31 until like 101? Right? You need to have something you love, something you're passionate about, but you don't. I think the other model was okay when people weren't living quite as long. Right?
Maybe, but even then, I mean, if we were really honest and truthful, and we went to our great grandparents, let's say, and we said, hey, by the way, if you could spend your days doing meaningful, impactful work and being able to spend more time and make your time around the things that are important to you, not important to your boss, how would you like to do that? There's none of them that would have said, nah, I just really want to do the whole, work 40 years, 40 hours a week, and then just shut it off one day. Like, by the way, that we are producers. I mean, Chris, you probably interview people all the time. Like, we are producers in and of ourselves. Like, our being is meant to create and meant to impact others. Like, we're a community of people that needs to be interacting with each other and providing value to one another. Well, when would you ever want to be taken out of service? Right? Retirement actually means taken out of service. And when I retire a piece of equipment, it's because it's no longer useful. Like, you are always useful. I don't care if you're 99 years old, you're probably more useful to the world at that point than you are at any other time because of your experience and just the richness that you've been able to accumulate in and of who you are. So anyway, I get on my soapbox. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
I
talking
love
about
it
this.
because I 100% agree. I mean, people that have this idea, this, like you say, it's like this goal, that you have to attain in retirement. What does retirement actually mean? It means you don't have to work. You can do anything you want because you don't have to worry about money. So tell me how Wealth Without Wall Street helps people to do that.
Well, we've broken it down into 3 easy steps, right? It starts with a goal. And think about it this way. If financial freedom is the antithesis of retirement, because financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses. Think about that for a second. If right now you took the amount of money that you had coming in to your monthly bank account, and it was money you did not work for, whether it was a piece of rental real estate, or maybe it was a short-term rental, or it was a royalty from a book or from a piece of music that you created, or whatever it was. I don't care. You take that amount on the left-hand side and you carry over on the right-hand side your monthly expenses. You divide those things into each other and it says, oh, I'm at 10% of my goal. That is how you start to dictate to yourself, what do you do with your expenses and what do you do to create passive income? Once those numbers, the passive income number exceeds 100% of your expenses, now you dictate to others what you're going to do with your time, because nobody else can dictate to you the requirement of your time. You're no longer, as we like to say, trading time for money. So those 3 steps are, you have to have a GPS to get to this destination, right? You pull up your phone, you get your Maps app, you click it. If you don't put in a destination, you go nowhere. Literally, it just tells you where you are today. But as soon as you put in a destination, it gives you options, right? You have your goal at that point. Your goal is the destination of financial freedom. But we actually break that down even more. And we say, you can't just say, I want to be financially free. You have to literally tell yourself and train your brain to say, what would financial freedom look like for me? Who will I be? What will I be doing or not doing? And what will I have when I attain this financial freedom? And we actually have a course that we created just to help you stop and think about that. Because to be quite frank, most people have limited themselves from the ability to dream about this. They literally have said, I'm just going to buy in and I'm just going to deal with what I have and put up with life. But so it's hard. I mean, we can ask people, what does financial freedom look like to you? And they would say, $1 million in the bank. And you're like, no, that's first of all, that's not going to be enough, I promise. But second of all, it's no, what are you doing? Like, picture yourself being financially free. So we have a course, it's called the Passport Challenge, and people are welcome to download that for free. If you go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/start now, you actually can get into that course for free. But once you have that goal, then you have to have a plan. And the plan, really, how we see that is, what sort of investor are you? Like, Chris, I don't know, you probably work with investors quite a bit. Are all investors supposed to invest in like single family homes?
There are as many different kinds of investors as there are kinds of people, right? And I'm sure you know that. That was like a rhetorical question, right?
Well, here's the thing. The funny thing is, it's a simple question. But I want to make people think. Like,
Yeah.
Sometimes we get locked into saying, well, you know what, Joey and Russ, like they've made $50,000 a month in passive income, and they do short-term rentals. Maybe I should do short-term rentals. or maybe they've done land flipping and maybe I should do land flipping. The issue is not the investment, it's the investor, right? Who you are as an investor. We call it the investor DNA. It's a profile that we've created to help people determine, okay, who am I? What do I really enjoy? What would I thrive in doing? And then match it up to, will this help me get to my goal as fast as possible? Well, it may look very different for you. As you mentioned, it may be that e-commerce is the best way for you because you really love a system and you don't want to have to think about the marketing side, right? Like e-commerce does the marketing for you in the sense of Amazon. I'm just using Amazon as an example because it literally is the biggest, best platform to help get your products seen before other people. So you kind of take that whole piece out. You love systems and all. This very well may be the best route for you. Whereas some people would say, oh no, you always make money in real estate. Well, that's great, but not if you are not that kind of person that would really resonate with, going and negotiating contracts or dealing with tenants or toilets or termites, any of those things. So we just believe the investor is so much more important than the investment. And once you determine that, then you can really dial in on your path to financial freedom. And that leads you to the third step, which we call support. So it's goal, plan, support, GPS. But that last one is so important because, Chris, you've created with this podcast a community of people, whether they know it or not, right? They're a part of a community that are becoming better, richer, longer lives, this kind of thing. Well, if you're listening to this podcast, but who else is in your circle listening to the same podcast? Potentially not many, and you should be sharing with them, by the way. You should be. But the thing is that if you're learning something new, the human nature for the people that we're closest to, unfortunately, are typically pulling us down. And they may not be trying to, but just inherently, they're not learning at the same level that you are. And so they may question things that they know nothing about because of fear. And my whole thing is get involved with a community of people who are pushing you in the things that are important to you, who are cheering you on as you take leaps into things that very few other people are doing. Our app we created, you actually get access via that link, wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/start now. You get a free access to our app. And in that app, we have over 5,000 people who are on the same road to financial freedom. It's amazing the conversations and the relationships that happen just in the main feed, and there's DM functions and all this stuff. People are cheering each other on. They're sharing wins. They're talking about challenges. Like, this is the kind of community that's going to help you get to your goals, so that when you pull up that map and you put in your destination, it gives you 3 or 4 options, right? It's never just one. It says which one. This one has fewer turns. This one has another. This is the longest one. And then there's one that says fastest. I don't know if you ever see that on your phone. Well, which one are you going to pick?
Right.
You want the fastest. And the community
the one with
is
the most tolls.
100%. Yeah, exactly. So you want to, that community, that support function, which we also have coaching that helps you along. But the point is, the support is absolutely critical.
You're absolutely right, because I know it wasn't originally Charlie Tremendous Jones, but who said, right, you are going to be exactly who you are in 5 years from now, except for the people you meet and the books you read. And if you're interacting with people who are just giving you fear and doubt, and maybe you should question yourself some more, maybe you should just wait and do this next year, right? Make it your New Year's resolution for next year. No, you want to be with people who are, like you say, cheering you on, who are on the same journey with you, who are challenging your ideas and your thoughts. You're absolutely right. It's critical. It's critical.
Well, and here's the thing that I want to call people into is, for me, there's a moment. I have 5 daughters, Chris. I don't know if you knew that about me.
Wow.
But one of my daughters, one time I was driving her to work, or I was on my way to work and I was driving her to school. And it was a rare time because usually I was too busy. Her mom would have to take her to school and then pick her up. But she was just taking advantage of this time with dad. She's just talking. I don't know if you, like, she's 3 at the time, maybe. And I'm talking, she has more words to share with me. It's amazing. So she's just talking to me, but she just starts this conversation. Dad, are you going to pick me up this afternoon? I said, no, baby, mom's going to pick you up. She said, well, why are you not going to pick me up? I said, I got to go to work. I have to, pay for things. She said, well, why do you have to go to work? I said, well, I have to pay for the car. I have to pay for the house. I'm just trying to, okay, she doesn't understand. I'm just going to make this simple for her. She's like, we already have a house. We already have a car. And I'm just like, this is such a simple, innocent conversation. But the thing that was like an anchor for me that really has never left me since then was the fact that my little 3-year-old said, Dad, I want you to come pick me up. And I had to say, I have to go to work. And the reason I said that at the time was because I had no passive income. So what I did was I had someone else dictating to me the hours and the time and the effort that I had to trade for money to be able to do all those things that I mentioned to her. And I said, never again will I do that. And that's what I want to call you to do. Is you may not have a conversation with a 3-year-old girl on the way to school like I did, but you have other things in your life that will remind you exactly, like you're nodding your head with me and saying, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I have to is the word I never want to have to say again. And I'm going to say you owe it to yourself to get uncomfortable taking steps towards financial freedom, because it's possible and it will free up and give you the richer, longer life that Chris is talking to you about every single week here. So anyways, that's just my thoughts on the subject.
You're absolutely right. But I want to go back to something you said earlier about this random goal. Like, what does financial independence look like? Oh, it means $1 million in the bank. Like, I don't know about anybody else. I cannot get excited about that. You know what I mean? It just doesn't give me any emotion. It's not like, it's like, oh, I'm walking on the beach and I've got the right. That makes pictures in my mind. It's like $1 million in the bank. What does that even? And that's what you're saying, right? I mean,
well,
I don't want to hear some random, number. Tell me, what does your day look like? What actually happens when you have this financial independence?
100%. You should be thinking about what does it do for you, right? Because money is just an exchange. I mean, we put so much value on something that does nothing for us except we exchange it for the value it creates. I'll give you a story. I was at the beach a couple years ago, and my wife had these swim shirts, the UV ray shirts, whatever, for all of us, and they all have Wealth Without Wall Street on the chest. So, of course, I'm like trying to write off a trip or whatever. And she's like, so we're sitting on the beach, and right on the other side of us is this older couple, probably in their 60s. And the lady kind of comes up and starts talking to us. And she's from around Alabama where we live. And but we're in Florida at the time. So it was funny, oh, that's crazy. It's a small world. But she gets to talking. She asks me about my shirt. And I tell her what it is. And she's like, that's interesting. She's like, we spent all this time putting money away for our retirement. We've finally retired recently. And, I just hope it's enough. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, well, I mean, I don't know if what we've done is going to be enough. And so to your point, a dollar figure in her mind, first of all, how did she get to the dollar figure? She was living, scrimping, saving, like almost I want to challenge somebody. It's a scarce mindset. I have to live off of as little as possible so that I can save as much as possible so that when I'm quote unquote free, retired, I can live more freely.
For
But
how
you
you can
but you
only live
tell
to a
me,
certain age, right?
yeah, exactly. You
Or
tell
run out
me,
of money, I guess I better be
yeah.
hope to die young. I don't know. Is that the goal?
But what are the chances
Yeah,
that that lady is living more free now than she was before? It's not going to happen,
you're
right?
absolutely right.
You spend 40 or 50 years of your life saving and hoping and putting money away. You're not going to all of a sudden turn on the switch and be like, oh, we can now go travel anywhere we want. You're always going to be wondering, maybe I should hold off this month on that because, the market's kind of fluctuating, or, there's some unrest overseas, or what. I mean,
Right,
fill in the
right.
blank. Like, you're never going to live a free life if you're living scarcely now. And so anyway, I just challenge that whole thought process.
Well, and the idea that you can, I said this even before I knew what it meant, as a younger person, like, because it made sense to me, and yet I still didn't think I grasped it all. But you can't save up to be rich, right? You really can't, because you need to have a steady stream. Otherwise, like I said, how long am I going to live? My aunt lived to 105. Well, how much money am I going to have to save to be able to live a comfortable life to 105? I mean, that's I'm going to be working till I'm 75, right? I mean, I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And I will say this: before I got into all this world of Wealth Without Wall Street, I was in the mortgage business, and I know you're in the real estate world. And I actually just was interviewing a guy that was in door-to-door sales, and he made this comment, and it made me really like it kind of took me back to those days. I was in high commission sales, right? Made a lot of money and felt like, man, I have financial success is a high income, until you realize that you're solo economically dependent. And that's a word I borrowed from somebody else, a friend of mine, Mark Podolsky. But he says, if you have to show up every day and produce, or you don't make a dollar, it's not free. You're not free. It's always dependent on your production and your showing up. And so, to your point, the highest income you can create isn't freedom. It's a steady, consistent income that comes in without your having to be present. That is where freedom comes from. And there's so many ways to do that. And that's what we're passionate about, teaching people the path to get there.
Yeah, I'm bummed because we're already running out of time. But I want to say one thing that Bob Proctor said, which I love, is like, I want to make more money while I'm sleeping than I can spend when I'm awake.
I love that. That is so good.
So I like I said, the time has flown by. But is there anything, Joey, that you want to? Anything you wish I would have asked you that I didn't ask you? Anything imparting that you wanted to share?
You know, not necessarily, except for the fact that I want to really challenge you to think that you have something of extreme value that people need in this world, and you have to be freed up to become that person. I firmly believe that people are in financial prison, and that they desperately need to see the world from a different angle to be freed from that, so that they can become the person they were meant to be. And I see that happening in our community every day, and I know it's possible. And anyways, I'm passionate about seeing people become that person.
Beautiful. That's a wonderful mission. And of course, all the links that you shared and everything are going to be in the show notes and stuff.